greatest rivals. We're going to go at number one again. Number one again for me, his greatest rival, Andre the Giant. I put that down. I know he's not going to, I know we talked about some of these matches and rivals would be different, but to me, that still is also his top rivalry for me.
I agree 100%. He's number one to me because, quite frankly, it goes back before 1984.
It does. Right.
Andre versus heel Hogan at Shea Stadium. They wrestled for years before even getting to that point. Obviously, Vince McMahon likes to erase some of that history, but the Unbeatable Monster turned bitter enemy. Their rivalry made Hogan look superhuman, quite frankly, and it's a rivalry rooted in real life pride, a little bit of jealousy and respect.
I agree. And as much as we talked about Hogan earlier in the earlier segment, making people like the Ultimate Warrior and Sting, Andre the Giant helped make Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, 100%.
Number two, I know this guy's going to be somewhere on here probably for you, Roddy Piper. When you look at the war to settle the score, and you look at WrestleMania, but also years later in WCW, Icon versus Icon, I had to have Piper in there as a top rival.
Piper's my number three.
Okay.
I have Piper as number three. Piper never let Hogan get comfortable. The verbal wars were incredible. They're iconic. Piper never gets pinned cleanly by Hogan ever. Yeah. And I mean, that says everything.
And I like what you said there. Piper never lets Hogan get comfortable verbally. As I go back and I watch 97, Piper is not afraid to call Hogan baldy or make fun of his hair and do a lot of other things that people wouldn't necessarily do. And I thought that was, So who was your number two then?
Well, I'm going to guess my number two is probably somewhere on your list, the Macho Man Randy Savage.
He was my number three. So we now know our threes. So
to me, Macho Man, obviously, great tag partners. But behind the scenes, there was so much complexity emotionally between the two of them. Jealousy, Macho Man always trying to get to where Hogan's at. Hogan kind of holding off Macho Man. It was a great rivalry on screen and off screen.
Yeah, I agree. I always think when I was looking at like pictures and stuff for some of this stuff, it was like, you got lust in your eyes, Hogan. You got lust in your eyes for Elizabeth. The story they tell in that 1 year build, too, where Savage wins the title and he's teaming with Hogan. And you see Hogan kind of, have Liz on his shoulders and everything like that. They really made Savage kind of a sympathetic heel in some ways. We got Andre, we got Piper, we got Savage in different orders. Number four for me is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. You didn't return my phone call. Where are you? I'm at the gym. Power drive him. Does this make your list?
It's a good rivalry, but no.
All right.
The reason why it's a very short rivalry.
Sure.
My number four is Ric Flair.
Ric Flair was my number five. So let's talk about Ric Flair.
So the reason why Ric Flair is my number four is they had a rivalry that went on for 6 years before they actually ever were in the same company together.
For many years, you look at the wrestling magazines as a kid, 80s, Ric Flair was the top of the NWA. Hogan was the top of the WF. We wanted to see that until that one day when Bobby Heenan showed up with that gold belt and saying the people that wear this belt, comparing the people who wear this belt to the belt Hogan wears, it's like comparing ice cream to horse manure.
Well, the funny thing is that even when they're finally in the same company, we still didn't really get Flair versus Hogan.
No, we didn't. Really, on the arena circuit we did, but we never got it, on a big pay-per-view until 94.
Yeah, so basically 10 years from the time Hogan wins the WWF title with the Iron Sheik to 1994, we never get a payoff on Ric Flair versus Hogan, and the rivalry is still there among the fans. To this day, you'll still get the argument Hogan's legacy versus Ric Flair's wrestling.
WWF, WCW, and then TNA, and even WWE, I would imagine, too, because it became WWE at some point. Hogan and Flair would just interact with each other for years, but they were the biggest. Hogan was the biggest superstar. Flair was the biggest wrestler. I think you could almost sum up like that. Who was your last guy? That was the one.
Vince McMahon.
I thought about having Vince. That's a good one.
So their rivalry goes throughout all of WrestleMania. Who's responsible? Who made the WWE what it is? Promoter versus performer, ego versus legacy.
Yes.
Without each other, neither would be who they are. And hopefully they got closure at some point between the two of them. But there was always that rivalry between who did what and the steroid trial and
Oh, the real
Hogan leaving for WCW. And it's such a tremendous rivalry between the two of them wanting to take credit for what the WWE is today. And quite frankly, it's both of them.
guys, as always, like and subscribe.